One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, Adam, is so much of the business community, it seems like, here in Minnesota, is propped up by a number of companies that are now 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, maybe even longer. We think about General Mills. You mentioned Target. There's UnitedHealthcare. There's Medtronic, General Mills. The list goes on and on. How do you see that gap in the fact that there hasn't really been this consistent cadence of new leaders that have come up every decade? And how do you see that dynamic here?
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that are relevant to this topic, one of which is these heritage companies, as I'd call them, these very large heritage companies, 3M would be another one, are increasingly detached from the core community as the families that founded them, in many cases, are no longer involved, as the CEOs and the board are primarily people who aren't from the Twin Cities and often don't live in the Twin Cities. And so you do get a situation where the companies are here, but they don't really have the ties in the community that they once did. And so they're still incredibly important companies and they drive our economy, but they are emblematic of an era which appears to somewhat be past, and so it is a fair question to ask. I don't have any reason to believe these large companies aren't going to continue to exist and be based here. But the question is relevant, which is what is coming to follow, and will it be companies like that, or will it be small, nimble companies that are much more focused and do their thing and then maybe get bought by somebody else and cease to be based here anymore? It's a dynamic environment, and we're not a capital of VC. We're not where a lot of the startup money is being raised. We're very strong in med tech and we do have our share of startups, but this is not a hub of that. And I think we're in a different kind of era in business right now, where small startup companies have a lot of the dynamism, or these massive tech companies that are based in Silicon Valley. I don't think our business niche or our community is sort of in decline, but it is mature, if you will. And the question is, what's coming next? And that's the question you basically asked me. And it's a little hard to say what 30 years from now this business community looks like, because there's a lot of people who are quite concerned that our larger companies are becoming kind of so multinational in orientation that they aren't invested in the Twin Cities in the way they used to be.